All right, good morning, class. I'm Staff Sergeant Pfeiffer, Alex Pfeiffer, and today I'm going to be talking to you about handshakes and why handshakes are so important. Every interaction that you have as a functioning adult, a handshake is going to be the first thing that you do. Now, has anybody, thinking back, ever shook somebody's hand and had an awkward encounter? Right? Maybe grabbed fingers, they gave you a loose handshake or dead fish or whatever you want to call it, right? Now think back on how you felt about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you some tools, techniques, procedures that you can use and put in your little toolbox so that way you avoid those awkward encounters. So in theory, handshakes are a pretty simple thing. You grab the person's hand, shake it, and that's it. However, just like anything else that we do, it requires practice. And if you don't practice it, and you don't practice it correctly, then you're not going to perform it well when the time comes. Something important like a job interview, meeting somebody's parents, something like that. So you want to try and avoid any awkward stuff. And the way we do that is by applying the techniques that I'm going to show you here in a minute. Now, the first thing you want with a good handshake is eye contact. You want to maintain eye contact with the person that you're talking to. There's studies that show that psychologically, if you're shaking somebody's hand and not looking them in the eyes, they're going to start thinking that you are up to no good, you're not trustworthy, or maybe that you're intimidated by them. You want to present a strong, confident appearance and shake their hand and look them directly in the eyes when you do so. Looking away could also show them that you don't care about that interaction. Now, if that's a job interview, that's something that you want to avoid. You want to show them that you care about the job that you're applying for. Next, you want to have a firm grasp with your hand. You don't want to squeeze too hard, you don't want it to be too limp. Good rule of thumb is if you think you're squeezing too hard, you probably are. And then adversely, there's that dichotomy there. If you think that you might not be squeezing hard enough, that's probably true too. You can practice on yourself if you really need to. Other than that, if nobody said anything to you when you shake their hands and they haven't given you a weird look, you're probably pretty good on the strength that you're going to apply. Now, the next technique that I'm going to show you is something that you may not do all the time. However, it's a good tool that you can use, and I'm going to explain why. So if I have my demonstrator come up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake her hand, and I'm going to put my index finger on her wrist, pointing towards her, obviously. And I'm going to explain why. It's going to look like that. Now, if you can see, my index finger is on her wrist, pointing towards her. The reason that I'm going to do that is because who's ever shook somebody's hand and they tried to squeeze as hard as they could? Now, you're going to do that by pointing that out. It changes the way that your knuckles are lined up, and no matter how hard they squeeze, they won't hurt your hands. Just the way it works. You could have the smallest hands in the world, and this is a technique that's used a lot of times by females or individuals with smaller hands that aren't as strong. It avoids that awkward situation where, ow, you're hurting my hand. Let them squeeze all day, look them right in the eyes. It's a nice little power play. This also gives you physical control over that individual without them even knowing it. For example, if I have my finger right there, that's more control over their arm than I have naturally, just from my finger being right there. I can start to move them and get them to where I need to go. It's also going to help you avoid that where you grab the fingers or you grab too shallow. By putting that finger on that wrist each time, you're going to go deep into their hand, and then it's going to make sure that you avoid that awkward, bad handshake. Now, the next thing that I'm going to demonstrate, we have the pointer finger. Now I'm going to rotate their hand down, my palm down, their palm up. I'm going to do that because that adds another level of control. This is not appropriate for all situations. If you're shaking your future employer's hand and you do this, it may come across as you're trying to assert your dominance or you think you're better than them. However, some random person you're meeting on the street or some other situations that I'm going to go into, you may need this because it provides a little bit extra control over that person. The way that their arm is manipulated, you're able to move them a little bit better. Also, if maybe this is a situation I want to get away from, I have my hand on theirs, they're squeezing, trying to hold on to me, I'm able to push down and break contact away from that individual and then create distance and protect myself. So, some practical applications to applying these two pretty simple handshake procedures that I've used personally in my own experience is on protection, right? I'm charged with protecting a high-ranking or a VIP, very important person, whoever. It's my job to make sure that they're safe. So if you want to come and shake my boss's hand, I'm going to walk up in front and then shake your hand first. Now, what do I have over this person? I have control. I can see their hands. Hands are what's going to get you killed or hurt your boss, if at all possible. So I can see their hand. That's one less thing that could hurt me or potentially hurt my boss. I have control over this person right now, so they can't attack my boss. And where's their attention going to be? It's on me. When you're shaking somebody's hand, it's just natural that you look at that person. So their attention got diverted from my boss to me, and now I'm in control of this individual. Also, it allows me to control their hands and control them without making it weird. For instance, if I was going to walk up, someone wants to walk up to my boss, and I was going to grab them by the arm and the elbow and move them around, that's going to look weird, and that may embarrass my boss. And I want to try and avoid that if at all possible. So just by shaking their hand, I eliminated all of those things. Next thing, I'm going to give you a scenario. Let's say that we're walking in Walmart, and somebody kind of fishy walks up to you and tries to sell you something or tries to talk to you and your family. How can I avoid them getting close to my family and get their attention onto me? Easy, with a handshake. I can apply these same procedures. I walk up to them, I shake their hand. I can tell my family, hey, go to the car, I'll meet you there. Now, it's not awkward, it's not weird. It's normal custom in America to shake somebody's hand. However, his attention is on me. I have control over that person. If he has any nefarious ideals or he wants to do anything crazy, I can control that person. And now I'm in charge of that situation. Now, lastly, I kind of touched on it earlier, job interviews. Handshakes are the most important part, in my opinion, of the job interview because it sets the tone. Having a good, firm handshake, maintaining that eye contact, looking that person straight in the face, it shows them, hey, we're going to start this job interview on a high note, and then we're going to continue forward. It sets a good first impression. Then from there, all you can do is either go down or up, but at least you're starting up at the top, and that employer, potential employer, is going to like you. So in conclusion, we talked about proper handshake procedures, some techniques that you can apply that would assist you with shaking hands, why those can be used to protect yourself, your family, how to avoid awkward handshakes, and why handshakes are so important at creating a good first impression. I appreciate you guys sitting in my class. This concludes my brief at this time. Do I have any questions? Thank you. Have a great day.